Few television series have penetrated the cultural consciousness as profoundly as Patrick McGoohan's The Prisoner. Premiering in 1967, this enigmatic British drama transcended the conventions of episodic television, embracing high-concept storytelling, existential themes, and an unapologetically surreal aesthetic.
Where is this?
The village?
Yes.
I'll see if coffee's ready.
Where's the police station?
At its core, The Prisoner was a bold exploration of individuality and freedom, helmed by McGoohan's singular creative vision. In dissecting its inaugural episode, Arrival, we gain a rare glimpse into the philosophical underpinnings of the series, the fiercely uncompromising intellect of its creator, and a cautionary tale about the erosion of personal liberties. This, we would later find out from his daughter, Catherine, was personal for her father.
I had missed a very important detail. And when I saw it in that opening episode, Arrival, I went, oh my God, it could not be more personal. His personal birth date.
The time of my birth is missing.
Well, there you are. Now let's bring it all up to date.
4:31 a.m., 19th of March, 1928. I've nothing to say.
I went to Port Merion some years back purely to see the views I'd seen throughout the TV series. I was very interested in film and photography as well. The whole concept was so surreal and it intrigued me as a young kid. I did notice, with some bewilderment, the groups of people sporting prisoner clothes, complete with capes and umbrellas. I couldn't help feeling that maybe they'd missed the whole point of the show. Perhaps they were prisoners of the past. Some folks had the number 6 blazer and others were even dressed as the favourite number 2, the character, not the bowel movement.
I sat down and I wrote a 40-page sort of history of the village, sort of telephones they used, the sewage system, what they ate, the transport, the boundaries, a description of a village, every aspect of it. And they were all given copies of this. And then naturally we talked to them about it and sent them away and hoped they'd come up with an idea that was feasible.
In the annals of television history, there exists a series that transcends mere entertainment. It is a prophetic revelation of society's constraints, a mirror reflecting the intricacies of human existence. Created by the enigmatic and highly talented Patrick McGoohan, a visionary ahead of his time.
But to help you now would be sin. Only God can lift you from your distress. A living people suck strength from sorrow.
Do you know the reason?
She's a slut.
Because she's like you. Half an hour.
Well, they can live and clothe themselves and their children and pay the taxes in a countryside bled white by the King's Parliament, which represents them and which buys and sells votes as if they were dealing in cattle.
Get me there, put another torpedo up the spout, blow a hole in the ice, and get me there!
Let me assure you that you are delving into areas over which you have no authority.
I'll need workshop facilities to tune it up and to fix a new scope.
For how long?
A couple of hours.
Okay, no problem.
The scope I want is a Sight 6 power.
You know, I very much wanted to identify that rag immediately. I couldn't get it out.
Such a piece of human junk. The answer's simple. You're a scanner, which you don't realize. Some men are destined never to leave Alcatraz alive.
I heard the word in France, where I was fighting to expand your future kingdom. The word, my son, is that our entire northern army is annihilated. And you have done nothing.
Well, I detest being late. And I also detest having to repeat myself. Now, come on, Lieutenant, don't disappoint me.
reliving my memories of her, and then the ambulance returned, the body was brought in, and then the phone rang again. And this time it was the police. And all you have is a load of unsubstantiated, circumstantial poppycock.
Although he was born in New York, Patrick's parents were Irish, you may have guessed. And after quickly moving back to Ireland, he eventually spent all of his formative years living in Sheffield. That's where I am. It was there he went to school, college, attained his first jobs, met his future wife, and started out in his acting career. McGoohan's life was a tapestry woven with threads of rebellion and creativity. While he gained fame for his portrayal of secret agent John Drake in Danger Man,
none of the residents can leave the village, ever.
Of course, security.
Yes, that doesn't worry you.
No. I came here to serve.
it was his magnus opus, The Prisoner, that solidified his status as a pioneer of television. Amidst the fervour of the 1960s, McGoohan found himself thrust into the spotlight. His portrayal of secret agent John Drake in Danger Man catapulted him to international fame.
Well, he's a naturalist with a lot of money to throw around, and that's the way he likes to throw it.
Is not also possibly something to do with Spanish intelligence, employing you on the side?
If you think that about my holiday activities, you're as wrong as Moncton.
It was during this time that he caught the eye of producers scouting for the next James Bond, a role for which McGoohan seemed tailor-made. Already Great Britain's highest-paid television star, McGoohan could have coasted comfortably as the archetypal spy or even the villain in both film, TV and theatre.
I was doing a series that was called Secret Agent.
Mm-hmm.
Was it called that here or Danger Man? It had two titles.
Danger Man here.
Danger Man,
yep.
Yes. And I'd made 54 of those, and I thought that was an adequate amount. So I went to the gentleman, Lou Grade, who was the financier, and said I'd like to cease making Secret Agent and do something else.
But he saw espionage stories as glamorizing the most despicable and cowardly of human activities, rarely using a gun to get out of a pickle or indulge in promiscuous love scenes, features de rigueur for the spy genre. McGoohan became a reluctant figurehead of British TV.
Hello, friends. This is Johnny Drake, fresh in on the Noonday Tide, with a new batch of discs for you, which will be coming to you through Radio Jolly Roger, the friendly pirate.
McGoohan steadfastly refused to don the mantle of 007, a decision that puzzled many, but spoke volumes about his fiercely independent spirit.
This is Johnny Drake, your friendly DJ, signing off and disembarking with He Who Rides a Tiger by Patsy Ann Noble.
In rare interviews, such as from In My Mind or The Prisoner Puzzle, McGoohan revealed his disdain for the superficiality of the Bond franchise. He declared, "I have no interest in playing a glorified assassin." Some have made the point that due to Pat having a happy marriage and a strong faith, that he wouldn't entertain kissing or mild sex scenes, often seen in Bond films. This wasn't entirely true. Pat had already kissed female actors, and he'd actually played a rape scene in a prior drama. McGoohan also stated, "I thought there was too much emphasis on sex and violence. It has an insidious and powerful influence on children. Would you like your son to grow up like James Bond?" Since I hold these views very strongly as an individual and parent, I didn't see how I could contribute to the very things which I objected.
The fact that I'm a prude and I don't believe in sex and violence and all this sort of nonsense, or anyone who says that should go and see a movie called The Gypsy and The Gentleman, when I threshed around in the hay with Melina Mercouri for a considerable amount of time.
For all those that say, oh, he'd have made a great Bond, he'd just done something far better over the course of the Danger Man / Secret Agent series. Most of these episodes, many being hour-long affairs, were far more intelligently written, better acted, and were real spy thrillers. Bond was, and will always be, eye-candy explosions, almost laughable plots, and a supposedly secret intelligence officer whom every foreign bad guy knew.
Good evening, Mr. Bond. Blofeld.
He also drove one of the world's most recognisable and expensive cars. Do you know how much intelligence officers earn, with many having to live in or near London? I won't say too much about that, but the bus and train are far more likely to be your transport, not a DB5. Anyway, watch Danger Man, the spy who came in from the cold.
There's a vacancy in banking section which might suit you.
Sorry, I'm an operational man. I'll take my pension. I don't want a desk job.
You don't know what's on the desk.
Paper.
And the Ipcress File, if you want real espionage. And it's also worth mentioning the film Dr. Sin, alias the Scarecrow of Romney Marsh. McGoohan starred in this very entertaining story of a cunning gang of rebels who robbed King George III's tax collectors, and they gave the proceeds to the local villagers. With their scarecrow masks and McGoohan's mocking cackle, I'm sure this Disney film was somewhat disturbing for younger viewers. The masked plotters won the day, and at over 2 hours in length, I do recommend this film. Where were we? Oh yeah. In 1967, The Prisoner was finally revealed unto a shocked and somewhat perplexed public. A series McGoohan pitched with opaque urgency to ITC Entertainment's Sir Lou Grade. The premise: a secret agent resigns abruptly, only to be abducted and transported to a mysterious, picturesque village where his individuality is systematically stripped away. Grade, impressed by McGoohan's intensity, gave him unprecedented creative control, an arrangement McGoohan would wield with autocratic zeal. The Prisoner is a labyrinthine narrative, shrouded in mystery and allegory. At its core, it delves into the existential quandary of individuality versus societal conformity. McGoohan himself once remarked,
I will not be pushed, filed, stamped, indexed, briefed, debriefed, or numbered. My life is my own.
This iconic line encapsulates the series' thematic resonance, challenging the audience to question the structures that confine them. And during the lockdown period, how many people really thought that they weren't a number and that they were free men? Many failed at the first obstacle. As number 6, McGoohan navigates the surreal landscape of the village, a microcosm of societal control and surveillance. Each episode is a tantalizing descent into paranoia and disillusionment, mirroring the omnipresent spectre of government surveillance and propaganda in our own reality. Arrival was meticulously crafted by Pat to serve as both an introduction to the series and a statement of intent. Drawing upon his own experiences and philosophies, McGoohan imbued the episode with layers of symbolism and allegory, challenging viewers to question the nature of authority and identity. McGoohan weaves a tapestry of mystery and intrigue, leaving breadcrumbs for the audience to follow, from the iconic penny farthing symbolising the passage of time to the ever-watchful gaze of number 2, played with sinister charm by Guy Dolman.
Curious about what lies behind your resignation. You had a brilliant career.
Every detail serves a purpose in McGoohan's grand design, even the sign, "Please walk on the grass." The title sequence of The Prisoner is a masterclass in visual storytelling, packing narrative and mood into a single breathless montage. McGoohan worked closely with graphic designer Jack Champan and cinematographer Brendan J. Stafford to craft what remains one of television's most iconic openings. The musical score of The Prisoner is inseparable from its identity. Ron Grainer, best known for the Doctor Who theme, crafted a soundtrack that oscillates between martial pomp and dissonant whimsy, The original version lacked the urgency of the version we know and love, and so Pat suggested a few tweaks to give it the urgency it deserved. The opening theme's bombastic brass section underscores number 6's defiance, while the lighter cues emphasise the village's eerie artificiality.
Isn't Ron Grainer writing that? And he said, I'll give Ron these notes and see what happens.
The sequence begins with a roaring engine, a sleek Lotus 7, tearing through London's once British streets. McGoohan strides confidently into a government office. His resignation is swift and deliberate, signified by the thunderclap of a rubber stamp marking his fate. The images that follow, a darting camera, darkened corridors, and ominous gas hissing through a keyhole, convey disorientation and entrapment. By the time McGoohan awakes in the village, we've already been plunged into this world of paranoia, surrealism, and defiance. McGoohan explained in an interview, the audience needed to feel his rebellion viscerally, even before he speaks. It had to be aggressive, but not action for action's sake. If one reads this show as purely literal, a spy thriller, will he, won't he, then it's quite clear our intelligence officer was mightily pissed off with what he'd seen or been involved in, and he purely wanted out. The first episode, Arrival, was written and directed by Pat. It's a masterful introduction to the series' themes and visual language. It opens where the title sequence leaves off, with the newly resigned man, now designated number 6, awakening in a meticulously idyllic coastal community known only as the village. The contrast between his former life in urban London and the village's unnervingly cheerful facade establishes one of the show's key motifs, the tension between the individual and the collective. The village itself, filmed at the real-life Portmeirion in Wales, is as much a character as any actor in the series. Architect Clough Williams-Ellis designed Portmeirion as a whimsical, Mediterranean-inspired resort. As McGoohan remarked, the village is a candy-coated prison. It's the ultimate manifestation of a controlled society. No whips, no chains, just a constant barrage of conformity. Ellis was still putting the finishing touches to Portmeirion, whilst The Prisoner had started filming. It's also been said that Pat actually made a few architectural recommendations to Ellis.
Is your number 6?
Yes?
Just one moment, I have a call for you.
Incidentally, the main Minimoke used throughout the series, HLT 709C, was restored by Phil Caunt and eventually sold at Silverstone auctions for £69,750. The vinyl roof wasn't deemed suitable for repair, and so Phil cut it up, and he's selling the few pieces he has on eBay. The speedometer section was also left out, so I bought this from Phil. Sorry, I digress. The crux of Arrival is number 6's first encounter with the village's Orwellian mechanisms of control. He's immediately stripped of his name, a dehumanizing act that reduces him to a numeral.
Number, please.
I want to make a call to...
Local calls only. What is your number, sir?
Haven't got a number.
No number, no call.
I am not a number. I am a free man. He bellows this in defiance, only to be met with sardonic laughter of the village's administrative overlord, number 2. Herein lies one of McGoohan's sharpest critiques, the bureaucratic efficiency with which individuality is suppressed.
What you were, what you want to be, any family illnesses, any politics.
Once you give up your name, you're no longer a person, you're a cog. And cogs are much easier to replace than people. The surveillance apparatus of the village is introduced early in Arrival, with oversized screens, omnipresent cameras, and even fellow villagers acting as informants.
They offered me my freedom in exchange.
Exchange for what?
To get into your confidence. Make you trust me. And tell them everything about you.
Then they let you go.
This dystopian vision presages contemporary debates about data privacy and government overreach. McGoohan was deeply skeptical of modern technology, saw The Prisoner as a warning. When you start watching people, sooner or later, they stop being people.
That is trying to destroy the individual by every means possible, trying to break his spirit so that he accepts that he's number 6 and will live there happily as number 6 forever after. And this is the one rebel that they can't break.
Arrival also establishes the psychological battleground of the prisoner. Throughout the episode, number 6 meets various villagers, from the charming yet sinister number 2 to the garrulous shopkeeper and the enigmatic old-timer.
Beautiful day.
These encounters test number 6's resolve, offering him temptations to assimilate into village life. He rebuffs every attempt, but at great personal cost. As McGoohan noted, the prisoner's greatest enemy isn't number 2, it's despair. I love the PA system's chirpy announcements, voiced so well by Fenella Fielding, where the villagers are told the flavour of the day is strawberry, or to be aware that ever so slightly inclement weather is to shatter their idyllic enforced happiness. This is like a nightmare holiday camp. A pivotal scene in Arrival occurs when number 6 attempts to escape by sea, only to be thwarted by the village's most surreal weapon, Rover. This pulsating, balloon-like entity is as absurd as it is terrifying, embodying the omnipresent but incomprehensible nature of authoritarian power.
Be still!
McGoohan intentionally avoided a more conventional antagonist. He went on to say that Rover represented fear itself. It's faceless, mindless, and unrelenting. Looking back at this serendipitous choice, it works amazingly well, as stagnant guards with machine guns would have been cliché. We don't know who is who in the village, as in real life. Nations effectively imprison themselves by voting in people who hate them. People then spy on their own neighbours for cash prizes issued by the same state who are working for insidious groups hell-bent on taking more from you to give to themselves. Don't be fooled by the nice suit, lovely eyes, and bloke down the pub image. All politicians are dictators. Later in the episode, number 6 is shown around the hospital's darker options for rehabilitation.
You're in the hospital, son. I'll just tell the doctor that you're awake.
You will be broken in both body and mind. So be a good boy, collect your issue costume and identity badge, and become part of the community.
Your health and welfare card, your credit card, and a free ride home.
We're shown a prior colleague of number 6's who apparently woke up in the same boat or village and hasn't a clue why he's there. The use of one's friendly faces and even a man's inherent desire to protect a woman are used against our protagonist right from the first episode. He really can't trust anyone but himself.
You've done very well. Pity about Cobb. Still, it wasn't your fault. Never mind. There's no blot on your record.
Arrival ends on an ambiguous note, with number 6 still confined to the village, but resolutely unbroken. This lack of closure was deliberate. McGoohan believed television audiences had grown too accustomed to tidy resolutions. Life isn't neat, so why should storytelling be? The unresolved tension of Arrival leaves viewers unsettled, forcing them to confront the larger questions posed by the series. What is the price of freedom, and how much of ourselves are we willing to surrender for security?
I do hope that your stay had its lighter moments.
Oh, well, you'll find him a tough nut to crack.
Millions would tune in for part 2, most wanting to know how this spy would escape, with a few more switched-on viewers pondering the all-too-brief drama that had just burst out before them. Although part 2 was billed as the chimes of Big Ben, it's quite clear looking through all 17 episodes that the order of the shows we were presented with aren't necessarily correct as a collective narrative. It's a testament, however, to the writers he brought in to flesh out the other episodes so well.
He can make even the act of putting on his dressing gown appear as a gesture of defiance.
Most of the other 10 only add to the prisoner's ethos. I would argue, though, and quite rightly, given McGoohan's own statements, that a good 4 could have been ditched, with the others put into their correct order.
You didn't initially want to do 17 films?
No, 7 as a serial as opposed to a series. And I thought that the concept of the thing would sustain for only 7. But then Lou Grade wanted to make his sale to CBS, I believe, first ran it in the States. And he said he couldn't make a deal unless he had more. And he wanted 26, and I couldn't conceive of 26 stories.
Do Not Forsake Me, The Girl Who Was Death, and Living in Harmony were all fluff to satisfy the TV company. But you gotta do a Western, right?
I'm Kathy.
It's a nice name.
After watching certain elements throughout the series being ramped up, I've put the episodes into an order that seems to fit, for the most part. I've left out the 3 I mentioned earlier, as these were really unimportant to the show's story. I'd also add The General and The Schizoid Man to the list of great episodes, but no real importance to the main story. From Arrival through to The General, there are still references to number 6 learning how the village operates. From here on, subsequent number 2s are using mind control via drugs in an effort to break number 6.
This brainchild of yours had better work, for your sake. If this man is damaged, I shall hold you responsible.
You know I haven't had a chance to prove the drug.
Just get it right, or I'll see that it's proved on you.
And towards the very end of the series, we see number 6 actually breaking down number 2.
I have to report a breakdown in control. Number 2 needs to be replaced.
Plus the controller being sacked before the final option of degree absolute. Anyway, have fun debating the minutiae of my list. Over half a century later, The Prisoner remains a touchstone of intelligent television. Its prescient themes resonate in an era of ubiquitous surveillance and algorithmic control, making Arrival feel more relevant than ever.
I will not be pushed, filed, stamped, indexed, briefed, debriefed, or numbered. My life is my own.
Is it?
Yes, you won't hold me.
For McGoohan, who sadly passed away in 2009, the series was deeply personal. It wasn't just entertainment, it was a battle cry. In Arrival, Patrick McGoohan delivered not just a television episode, but a philosophical manifesto, one that continues to challenge, provoke, and inspire. With its incisive critique of societal conformity, The Prisoner invites us to ask the most uncomfortable of questions.
The thing about it here, in the context of The Prisoner, was that it was be seeing you
meaning that there was this constant surveillance.
Are we truly free, or just well managed?
The sky's the limit. Isn't it? I think the sky is the limit. He's seeing me. I hope.